I'm Joy Morris, inviting you to listen to true stories of the Wild West, hosted by C.R. King, a production of RK Enterprises.
Hello, everyone. C.R. King here. I want to make this very short. You could call it a prologue. I want to talk about the time of the Wild West, what we call the Wild West. Sometimes I call it the Old West. That time period of the Wild West started shortly after the Civil War. Now, while the consensus is that it ended 30 years later in 1900, it is my personal opinion as an historian that the West did not end until 1912, when Arizona, the last of the open territories, became a state. By then, the era of the cowboy and gunslinger had completely vanished, so they say. But look around you. I don't think it has. Gunslingers were born out of the Civil War. They were men who had learned to shoot, to kill other men, and were good at it. The country was in turmoil. Many had no home to go back to. Their farms and ranches were in ruin. So they took on jobs as hired hands, cow drovers, police officers, gamblers. These men often crossed the line at will between law and crime. It was so blurred, this line, that the professional gunslinger often found himself enforcing the law a month after what he had been breaking. The Wild West was really about commerce and making money. There was no Social Security or anybody to help you out. You either made it or you didn't. The bottom line was to earn a living and get as much as you could for yourself. Well, the occupation of these men varied. As I said before, they were lawmen and gamblers and all types of people, professional gamblers and lawmen. There were also miners and hunters and retailers and gamblers again. And many of them were just plain leeches, just mean. Now, the Civil War, there was a lot of bad blood between the North and the South. So when all the cattle started going up from Texas to Kansas, it was a battle. The Texans hated Kansas. Well, Dodge City and towns like that would name their saloons Western Texas type of names to try to make them feel at home, but the bad blood was there and was there to stay. Anyway, all of these people did have common ground. It was nerves of steel and the ability to handle a weapon. And although they often ran in packs, as they did in Tombstone, few lived much beyond their early years. Those that did, such as Bat Masterson, Bill Tilleman, Wyatt Earp, were the most deadly and the most nervy and the most intelligent and the most lucky of them all. We've all seen the movies about the famous of the gunslingers, of the most famous of the gunslingers, but there were often brave men and women whose deeds are all but forgotten. Their stories need to be told with accuracy. These stories of men who were outlaws, who crossed over to become lawmen, and the men who crossed back over that line again, each of these stories need to be told. So that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. That's what I've done with my books. I talk about duels. I talk about gunslingers. I talk about lawyers. It's all there. So I want to sign off here, and I'm going to prepare my next long podcast. It'll be about how mean and vicious the Old West could be. Thank you for your time. Be safe.
Stay tuned for next week's tale.